All right. I believe we are streaming live now here on the Gratitude Slam. And this is our third member spotlight. And I guess we could say plural because this is members spotlight. This is the opportunity to bring guests of the Gratitude Slam onto the Gratitude Slam and guests of the Life on Your Terms group coaching program into the Gratitude Slam to highlight what's going on in life. So first, I'd like to welcome Joel and Nicole Valdivieso.
Hey, hey.
Hello.
Now, this is the first time we've had two people on the screen. Why are you two both on the screen?
So we did the program together as a married couple.
The Life on Your Terms program.
Life on Your Terms program, yeah. We started the program. How long has it been, Michael? It feels like forever now, but
it does feel like forever.
Yeah, it feels like we've been on this program
at least 2 months.
At least 2 months, but it's been great 2 months, and yeah, we did the journey and are continuing the journey together.
So you went through the level 1, the level 2, and you're also both members of the Gratitude Slam as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the key part is, though, that you're married, which I love watching your marriage thrive. Hello, thank you very much. Look, imperfect things happen in real life on recordings as well. Like packages come. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Welcome to 2020, everybody.
I love the Amazon packages.
just coming and flying in. But I love the fact you're married, and I love watching the love of you two. How long have you been married now?
A year, but December will be 10 years that we've been together. This is in 10 days.
So you've been married for a year, but you've been together for 10 years, and this is a totally fun thing to talk about for me. Where did you two meet?
So we started dating in high school, but we've known each other since first grade. So we
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You actually knew each other as far back as that.
Oh, yeah.
In elementary school.
In elementary school. Oh, wow. So where did you go to high school that you met, that you started dating?
Hightstown High School.
And isn't it fun that that's where I went as well?
Yep. Ram Pride.
Yeah, Ram Pride, right? Totally coincidental. So talk about just coincidences happening, or there's no such thing as coincidences or luck. I just think it's super fun that we happen to have all gone to the same high school years apart from one another, but I do think that's totally fun. And we also all met each other initially through the dance competition industry, which is where I spent a lot of time. Now, regarding work, Joel, right, you and I had met through, we worked for different companies, but in the same trade. And then Nicole, you and I met that way too. But there's something unique about the way that the two of you work together, the both of your jobs. So what's unique about the way you guys, your jobs, your respective jobs?
So we do work for the same company. We work together, which a lot of people think is crazy. They're like, how do you work together and then go home together and go to work together? But I mean, our work is very separate when we're at work. But we do work together. See, we get to have lunch together, which is really nice. But we do also travel apart a lot of the times, and we're completely separate when we are at work.
So is that it? Working together? That is cool, right? Lauren and I, my wife, we get to work together right now, working for me part-time. We're looking forward to sometime in the future she gets to go full-time. And it comes with challenges, right? As well. So you work together, you have lunch together, you come home and share the same home together. Then you decide to take personal growth and personal transformation courses together. I said, well, let's do this program together, right? Just talking about not only being members of the Gratitude Slam, which is fun to have you both in there, but like that was a choice you made. Like Joel, you could have been selfish and been like, hey, Michael's my coach. Because for those of you that don't know, I do coach Joel on a one-on-one basis as well. But you decided, hey, let's bring Nicole into, or you talked about it with Nicole, and you guys together as a couple said, let's do this. What were you, first off, why as a couple would you want to do something like that?
So it kind of happened, it was really unplanned. You and I, Michael, were doing our sessions together. Nicole, she has her own life coach, and it just kind of, it fell on our lap. It wasn't like, hey, we need to do this, or it wasn't really anything like that. It was like, oh, look at this opportunity. Let's try it out. Let's see what happens. I mean, we weren't really expecting much. I mean, as far as like, anything, we just wanted to do it as an experience. Let's see what happens. Throughout our relationship, we've kind of already had this kind of want and need for self-improvement. So we've always just kind of just bounced that around. So we figured, if we do this, it just opens up our communication even more. It opens up the need and want to be able to talk about self-improvement in a different setting. It's usually just us, like you're saying, all the time. So hey, let's now involve a community, and let's see what else is out.
Interesting. So for either of you, what was the difference? So it sounds like you were both already interested in being the best version of yourselves. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep.
Right. So that was already something in your lexicon and your nomenclature together. You were able to, possibly share wins with one another or lessons. So what was it like having a conduit, right? Having a guide, a community, a coach in the middle? What was different about that experience that there was now, like, Joel, you working on yours, Nicole, you working on you, and now this link in between both of you where there's a common theme you're walking through together? Was that weird? Was that uncomfortable? Was that like, hey, let's not talk about this? Easy? How was that for you guys to go through together? Because I think a lot of couples would be scared. Actually, I know this for a fact. Actually, there's a book that I thought was on my shelf. There's a book, I actually have a few copies up there, called All About Us. And the first question and so it's this book of all these questions. I think I might have even gifted it to you guys for your wedding or your engagement maybe, but there's this book called All About Us, and it's just pages of questions to ask one another. And the first question is, are you willing to look at each other in the eyes for 10 seconds? And it says, yes or no. And it says, if no, close the book now, right? So there's this bravery because here you are, you're already intimate, in life regarding how much you share. And now you're like, oh, okay, here's some more. Was that weird? Was what's that like?
I think if anything, it made conversations easier. It just opens up this, we could easily after Lloyd ask each other, hey, like, what did you think about that thing that Michael said? Or it just opens up this door to be able to be like, so, what was your goal that you picked? And just to learn more about each other and what each other are going through. And I will say also, when we do it, it's not like this. We're in separate rooms and on separate screens. So
right.
We are going through it, on our own and for our own, self journey with our own notebooks and things like that. So then to kind of, talk about what the experience was like for us, if anything, it makes it a lot easier going through this together.
Ooh, I love this idea of going through it on your own journey. I want to open the book on that. I want to go a little deeper into the pages. So you're doing it for yourselves, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, so I'm being really careful here. Are you doing it for yourselves, or are you doing it to help the other person? Like, what was the reason? So what was the reason? Was it for yourself? Was it for each other? Was it like, Joel, I want to be better for Nicole. Nicole, I want to be better for Joel. Yeah. What was the reasoning?
So it took me a while, and it's something I'm still working on, to try to realize that I had to want to set goals for myself and to achieve things for myself and become better for myself, not to please everybody else around me. So what clicked in my head that was like kind of transformative for me was that I can become a better me, and then my husband and the people around me get to then reap the benefits of a better me. And it makes, I think, because we're both on this journey of self-improvement and we're both trying to better ourselves, it can lead to, a more harmonious marriage, because then we're both reaping the benefits of each other being, better versions of ourselves.
Joel?
Yeah, I think some people might look at it as being selfish a little bit, like let me do me first, and
Oh yeah.
but I think it's, in our opinion, it doesn't work that way. You have to really, as cheesy as it sounds, you got to love yourself and you got to be happy with who you are, and at least know that you are on a path or on some kind of direction for whatever it is that you want to do. I mean, if you're happy with yourself, then so be it. And I mean, and not that we were miserable with each other, but we just saw that there's room for growth, and it starts within first, and then, like Nicole is saying, through that, it's made me a better husband. It's made me a better worker. It's made me a better son. So yeah, I mean, everyone just reaps the benefit of that.
So it sounds like you're both saying, wow, it turns out I'm doing it for me, but the people I love and care about or are important to me are the ones, Nicole, you said this, reap the benefits, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times as a leadership and life coach, I have people come in and say, I just want to be better for my wife. I want to be better for my children. And they say, but I'm not interested in focusing on myself, which I'm like, well, I'm not sure how to do that. Joel, is to what you said, right? This idea of self-love. Osho, the philosopher, said, I'm butchering his words, but the theme was, you can't truly love another person until you can first love yourself, right? Because this idea of you can't understand in others what you don't understand in yourself, right? And that's pretty, when you really think about this, crazy. It's not saying you can't understand yourself. It's saying you can't understand in others what you don't understand in yourselves. And so whether it's through Lloyd or just your own personal self-transformation journey, right, Nicole, if you're going something and you don't fully know how to unpack on yourself, you'll never understand it in Joel if it shows up for him, and Joel vice versa, right? And so this idea of let me find how to like myself too. And I do hear that, by the way. One of you said, some people might consider it selfish. I do often hear like, ooh, life on your terms, that's a little too selfish, and I'm like, it's selfish not paying attention to you, because this is the vehicle that you're showing up for your family, for your spouse, for your children, for your, coworkers, whatever that is. Was there, so by going through the experience together, right? And being on the gratitude slam together and having this just conduit of this facilitation of, ooh, this was something that we both went through or experienced, or question we answered on the slam, or something we did in Lloyd. Was there a moment where either of you are like, ooh, that conversation just was easier, or, ooh, I see her or him differently? I mean, can either of you think of a moment, not necessarily giving credit to the work that you've done through the program, just during that time, something where like, ooh, this is cool. Like, can you think of a moment that you'd be willing to share that would be like, oh, this is where I find it showing up, like for that you go through this thing together?
I think, I mean, there's just so many different parts or different moments that it shows up, I mean, from the actual experience, or the actual Thursday sessions that we have, just being, like Nicole said, we're in separate rooms, we're doing the experience separately in our own journey. So there were several moments that you, Michael, would ask Nicole certain things, and just me sitting on the passenger seat and watching my wife express herself in the way that I really have never seen. It was just like, wow, that's my wife, and I'm proud of her. I love her, and world, like, look, that's her. So that was really, that was one of the key moments that I clearly remember. I think it was when you guys were talking about your deeper value, and the nurturing came up, and that whole dialogue between you guys was just awesome, and mostly because I loved hearing her talk in that way about herself, which is really cool.
I remember that moment because I watched you for a little bit, Joel, right? Watching you watch her. And it was this just beautiful moment. And it wasn't out of pride. It was just that of, it was like, I saw you fall deeper, right? It's like, I watched it. It's like with Lauren, my wife, all the time where I'm like, man, I didn't think I could dig you more, right? I didn't think I could like you more. And I just constantly, because I think we're both committed to, we're committed to our personal transformation in very different ways, right? I don't think she would ever take, Lloyd, and she's in the gratitude slam, but you'll never see her really post on it, right? We both go about it differently, but we're both growing together just through different means. And so there's just these moments where I'm like, wow, because we're constantly changing, right? And when we're willing to look in the mirror, we're changing together. Nicole, what was it like for you? Was there anything where you're like, wow, I just see Joel different, or I see myself different and I can show up different for Joel? Because you're talking, right? We're going a little high level. We're talking a little 30,000 foot altitude of this idea of, if I focus on me, he reaps the benefits. Was there something where you went, wow, I think I'm more centered or grounded or clear or more kind to yourself? And was there something specific that you think really did bring your connection to a higher level that you offered for yourself, that you gifted to yourself in the past few months through your growth journey?
Yeah, it was just really nice to, be able, just kind of similar, to be able to hear Joel sharing to, everyone in the group, things that were on his heart, things that were, his goals or how he felt, and to be able to, it's not, I guess for most people, or for us even before Lloyd, I mean a little bit, but it's not, like everyday conversation, to talk about like, yeah, so, what are your, like, just things like that, the kind of things that we talk about in Lloyd. So it was just really amazing to see that. And then again, it just makes it easier to talk about and to make it a kind of regular conversation. And when you have somebody that, knows what your goals and aspirations are in an even deeper way, it's really supportive.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is, why is it not an everyday conversation? Not between you, right, in our culture, right? What's wrong? Why is it not? Like, so let's start there, and be like, hey, how can we be that? Or at least that's my goal, right? My goal is, how can I help facilitate that shift? I think it's an important shift. But yeah, this idea of support, Nicole, that's really cool. Because you guys supported each other before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or let me ask that. That's a leading question, technically. Did you feel supported prior to you going through a program together? Right, Joel?
Yes, we did. But for me, I think it's nice to be able to, we both knew that we had our own goals, and we knew, kind of what they were, and talk about them around New Year's and maybe a couple other times. But it's nice to be able to know and respect each other's goals, that obviously our goals are aligned, and we have a lot of aligning goals that are for our lives together, but we also have our own passions and our own interests. Yeah. And so it's nice to be able to support each other in those types of things too.
I just wrote this down so I didn't forget it. You said obviously our goals are aligned. I think that's something unique about the two of you, right? I'm not saying other couples don't share that, but that's not as common as you think it is. It's a lot of people, and I can say that Lauren and I are super aligned, but I was in a marriage prior where the goals were not aligned, and both of us, right? The conversation, like you said, it's not a normal conversation. I think that's something super unique to the two of you, which is why I really was like, oh, I'm on gratitude, the member spotlight. So speaking of, right, you're talking about goals and being able to share with Joel, right? There's things as a family unit you two are aligned on, right? Like you said, obviously, but it's not obviously, I'm grateful that you have that, and you guys, I see as a role model to other people that want to get in relationships, or I'd imagine the two of you often have like, how do you find somebody, right? Like how do you meet someone that's your match like that? Would you guys consider yourselves a good match?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so clear that you guys believe that, right? And you experience that. But like you said, outside of the family, then you have your individual goals. Nicole, I remember having some great conversations with you, and like Joe was mentioning before, like you talking about values, things important to you, but going into recognizing things that are important, goals, clarity. What discovery have you had recently around setting dreams and aspirations for yourself, right? What's shifted the past few months for you?
I think one of the things that has shifted was when we kind of worked through, finding our deepest values and our passions. And, something that you told me that was really awesome was that, through my job that I have, I'm able to touch and reach so many people, through what I do, which is like a different way of looking at it. And it makes you look at it in a way, in such a deeper, meaning, and such a deeper like view of what you're doing and what you're doing, the day-to-day things that anybody does in their job, if you put your deepest values into what you're doing, it makes it a lot more meaningful.
So there's first right. So you're saying you can go into something like work, which is a massive amount of time, and call it work, call it play, whatever we want to label it, right? But the time where you are in a space creating for the sake of some form of outcome, where there is financial compensation, but this idea of, I've always seen you even in the times I knew you prior to you joining the Gratitude Slam and the programs that we do, I've seen you as a very intentional person. Maybe you didn't know you were, but I've seen you as very intentional, very value driven. So now what I hear, am I right to say what you're saying is you are more aware of what those values are? Or you have a higher acknowledgement of it? It's something you're seeking out more? How's that showing up for you?
I think I'm more aware. So we talked about, nurturing being one of my purposes in life. And I said, I have a hard time figuring out what is my purpose in life. And that can be a very challenging thing to be dealing with, like in your mind, I feel. And when I definitely struggled finding motivation to do very simple things like in my life, like just simple things around the house, like struggle with finding motivation. But when you put your value and your purpose behind it, it makes it easier to realize why you're doing that. So like,
so you're saying, like, there's things in the day, I love my life, but there's things like, I'm like, I don't want to do that, right? Or even if it's something that takes care of the family unit, right? Where I'm like, I want to do the dishes. The last thing I want to do is make a decision of where to put that plate in the dishwasher. Like, that is too much cognitive energy for me. But you're saying when you can go, wow, I've really put words to this is what I'm hearing. So please wave me off if I'm totally in the wrong direction, because I'm not wanting to put words in your mouth. You're saying in the moments where you're like, I'm not feeling motivated right now, but you can just, again, flip to the page of the book. Like, why am I here? Why am I on this planet? What am I serving? All right, by nurturing, by doing the work I don't want to do, it makes it easier to do.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Joel, I just saw you had a visceral reaction to that. What was that?
Yeah, you know, this was one of the conversations that we spoke about, and it makes you look at life in general just through a different scope. You know, it's not just, oh, I have to go and whatever, go and clean our cat's litter. You know, it's like, well, no, we're caring for this cat. This is a blessing, and it just, I mean, obviously something so small like that, and enough of those little things in your life and your day to day add up, and you're miserable because you don't want to do anything, you know, and then you lack motivation. I have to go to the gym and this and that, and then your life turns into an I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to. But then after having that conversation, it's like, well, how about we look at it in a different way? You know, we get to do this. We want to do this. We're blessed that we can do this.
And it takes practice. It's not like it's, you know, automatically we love cleaning the litter box or love like
yeah.
It's a practice. It's like a muscle, I guess, but to kind of make it you know, more normal to look at things in this different light.
And you know, I think a lot of it with Lloyd, it plants a lot of seeds, you know, in your brain, and obviously it's up to us to really develop those seeds, you know, and then we have seeds and we have those thoughts, and how can we apply that to our everyday life? And like Nicole said, it's a work in progress. I mean, we're not by any mean perfect, or you know, but we're on our way to just being the best us.
Yeah, and you know, I appreciate you saying, Lloyd, you know, it's the reason we're saying Life on Your Terms, the group coaching program, is because we just, all three of us went through that shared experience together. But, you know, and so I'm happy to hear that it brought seeds, you called it seeds of awareness, seeds of growth. And that's all they are, right, is seeds. They'll do nothing if they're not watered, right? Whether it's through a group coaching program, whether it's through a book, whether you watch a really kick-ass documentary on Netflix, because God knows they have lots of them right now, right? It does nothing to watch or experience if it's not, the seed's not watered, if it's not, the soil's not taken care of. And so it sounds like you are willing both to do that, to take care of, which, by the way, the word concierge is to take care of. And right, you're one another's you're concierge to self and concierge to each other. You take care of one another. But it sounds like what you're saying is gratitude plays a role in your relationship as a couple. Is there truth to that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's what turns those hard moments, or those moments that, you know, you're not at your best, I should say, and that can mean anything, you know, emotionally, whatever. And if we try really hard to take those moments, and sometimes not even between us, but just to ourselves, and just be grateful and have that gratitude of, you know what, I am thankful. I'm thankful for these things, and for us, it works that it turns that moment. Most of the times it turns it into something positive, or at least it adds a little light to that hard situation or moment or thoughts. You know, the brain and the mind to do some funny things, you know, and we like to be able to control that, you know, and we found that through gratitude, we can help at least shift our thoughts a little bit.
So did I just hear a kitty?
Yes.
He's right here.
Where is he? Speaking of the litter box. So you're making a cameo appearance. So, you know, I have a few friends who are coaches in the relationship fields, right? Whether it's marriage counseling or the thing, you know, how to land a relationship, you know, it's a huge industry, right? And I don't hear gratitude talked about a lot in that world. It pops up, but it's not there. So because so many people are looking for the kind of love which I've experienced, the two of you have, whether they're in a relationship or not, I do think gratitude has a big role in it. And I've always seen the two of you as grateful people. And like you said, the mind can play some pretty screwy tricks on us, right? You know, especially in 2020 when we're working together, living together, living together, living together, living together, living together, while working together, living together, right? So if you were to give the listeners of this, as we wrap up, both of you, I want you to think, just, and we can come back to a different answer later, but one bit of advice on how to use gratitude or transformation skills in helping your relationship flourish, especially in times that are a little more adverse, right? What would that bit of advice be? Because I loved having you guys, the two of you, in the program. And what would you offer other people, whether single or in a committed relationship of 10 years or 1 year, like you two in a marriage? What would be that, if you could give one bit of advice around gratitude and transformation, what would it be?
You know, before we got married, we had to do a pre-Cana course through our church. And it was one of those moments where it took our relationship to another level. And when we were there, we said, you know, why aren't people doing this every year?
Like once a year.
Once a year, you know, why aren't married couples doing it? I've never heard of it. It was just, the experience was great. And, you know, besides the spiritual part of it, it was great because it made us talk about things that we've never talked about. And that was when we were together for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, through Lloyd, that's what's happened. You know, we've been together for almost 10 years and it's made us talk about things that are different, you know, and with that, our relationship, it's not that we have the perfect relationship or we've ever had the perfect relationship, but we try really hard to keep things different and to constantly grow. And we find that through everything, and through Loy, and through, we do, you know, weekly Bible studies together. We do weekly marriage workshop, and it's not that we have a weak marriage or weak relationship, but we want to invest time in that. We know it's worth a lot to us, and it's making us stronger. And so to sum it up, my advice would be, you know, keep things interesting, keep your head up. It's not that you have a weak marriage if you're investing time in it. It's that you care about it a lot, and that you want to make it stronger. So just invest time in the relationship.
Consciously invest the time. And Nicole, I want you to answer the question, but so many people I've seen, couples go, I'm not doing that. There's nothing wrong with my marriage. Like, no, you're doing it because there's nothing wrong. That's why you're doing it, right? It's like, you don't eat when you're on the death of your bed. You eat when to nourish, right? And like you said, the spiritual side and this side, that's a great idea. Life on our terms comes next, right? Maybe we do one for couples. Nicole, what about you? One bit of advice about transformation regarding couples.
I think maybe this will sound obvious, but gratitude, without gratitude, you can just lose sight of what's important to you, and you can build up so many, you know, so much negativity inside you. If you're, you know, toward not even your husband, only your spouse, but your family, your parents, like whatever it is. But then, you know, what if without you have to remember, you know, what you're grateful for and why you're grateful for the things that you have in your life, because it would be awful if something were to happen to any of those things. So gratitude is really grounding, I feel. And it just reminds you of what's important. And it helps you to appreciate, you know, all that you have. And so to be able to practice it regularly and as a couple, and to be able to be reminded weekly when attending Loy on, you know, how to incorporate gratitude, you know, into your life. And, you know, we talk about daily rituals and things like that is huge and very and transformational, I think. So,
you know, I'm gonna go on a limb and make an assumption here, because the two of you work together, and in COVID, we're living together, you know, to have something that's not work related as well. It's there's gotta be something refreshing about that too, where it's still about you and as you as a couple, but it's not about this. I know how easy it is to talk about work all the time when you work together. It's easy. It sounds like you invest that time. So,
Yeah.
And Nicole, what you said made me think of an exercise Lauren and I do. We don't do it as much anymore, but we still do it several times a week. Right before we go to bed, we each name one thing that we're grateful for about our past together. We talk about one thing we're grateful about our present together. We talk about one thing we're grateful for about our future together. And what a fun way to actually, so when hearing you say that makes me think of that exercise that we do. You have your practices, that's ours, but yeah, more couples having their own gratitude practices. So thank you very much, you two, for being on. Is there anything that was left unsaid that you'd want to share? Or did you get everything out that you think the world needs to hear now? Before we can do a part 2 another time.
Yeah, no, I think this was great. Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God, well, thank you. You inspired me. I say this a lot, right? I learn about myself more through the participants of the programs in the Gratitude Slam. I do it for me. Gratitude Slam and Lloyd's for me, so I can learn about me, and then I can recycle that or repurpose that and help more people. And that makes me feel good, which makes me do it more, so I loved having the two of you on, and thank you so much. So with that, I say namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.